Hey everyone, DQRDC here. I am in my 1.21.11 datapack test world, and what you see behind me is a little showcase village that I've been working on to showcase a bunch of the smaller datapacks that I've been making. Since last year and the camera datapack, I haven't really done any huge large projects, but I have been doing a bunch of smaller things, and so over the next couple of months I'll be exploring each building in this village and tacking on new buildings as I create new datapacks, just to showcase the smaller things that I've been working on. In this building, I have some elytra enchantments that I've been making. I have a datapack that lets you do floating gravity blocks without them falling. A bunch of small things like that. Today, we're going to be looking at the Tipsy Turtle Tavern, which has my playing dice datapack, which is the first datapack in a series that will hopefully allow Minecraft to be a full virtual tabletop for D&D or Pathfinder or whatever other RPG you might want to play. But the first step for that is our clickety-clackety math rocks, also known as playing dice. In this datapack, you can craft dice with just bones in a stone cutter to cut them down to your different standard dice shapes. We have a D4, a D6, a D8, a D10, a D12, and a D20. If you want to do a D100, just like in regular playing dice, you roll 2 D10 and you can do something to distinguish which one is the ones place and which one is the tens place. With these dice, you can roll them by right-clicking. They'll roll on the ground for a second. They'll show the name above them. Will have what value they roll, as well as what type of die it is. And then the owner will get whispered in chat what the value rolled was. If you don't want other people to see what value you roll, you can crouch before rolling the die, and that will hide the name tag, but will still show you in chat what value got rolled. You can also roll die from a dispenser just by powering it. That will fire the die and show the rolled value above the item, but since there's no owner, obviously nobody gets told in chat what the value was. These dice can also be customized in a couple of ways. The first way is by dyeing your die. This is done with the same recipe that leather armor uses, so you can just put the item in a crafting grid and then whatever dye colors you want to mix and match, and you can add more of one dye to make it lean towards that color. You can do whatever different things you can do with leather armor, and you will get a colored dye. You can also clear the color from the dye by just throwing or rolling the dye into a cauldron. That will splash and turn it to its normal off-white bone color. And then after you do that, you're free to add whatever new color that you want to add. That is kind of an ugly gray. Let's go with that. You can also customize your die by adding trims to them. There are 4 different trims you can add to your die. There's one that highlights the corners, one that highlights the edges, one that adds a creeper face, and then one that adds a little blobby effect to the top that, depending on what color combination you use, might look like grass or nylium. It might look like acid or poison or something like that, just depending on what color combo you go for. To get these different trims, we have a few items used as templates. The flint is used as the template for the corners. The iron bars is used as a template for the cage outline design. A creeper head is used as the template item to add a creeper face, and a grass block is used as the template item for the grassy trim design. I can take this dyed die and let's add a nice bright blue outline to it. And just a normal smithing recipe, so the template item, the item you're modifying, and the trim material. And just like that, you have a trimmed and dyed die. This one turned out pretty boring, but I have a few here that I have set aside, pre-made ahead of time. In here, I have a grass block one with brown and emerald trim. And you can see this looks a lot like just a grass block as a fun, interesting design. In here, I have the creeper die using lime dye and netherite trim on the creeper head to get a traditional creeper face. In here, we have a cyan die with a diamond outline. This looks kind of like something you might find just in a generic set of dye in the real world. And here we have a light blue die with gold corners. And this looks like kind of a fancy die you might find in the real world. Now, these dice are normally not stackable. You can not put them on top of each other. They have a max stack size of 1. But through some interesting datapack shenanigans that somebody showed me on Discord, by adding a component to these, you can make it so you can stack up to 16 dice in a bundle. So if you want to carry your different dice set around, you are free to do so, and you can have, different colored bundles to organize them so you know which one is which. Maybe you're doing something where you're a rogue and you have sneak attack, so you can just have a bundle full of a ton of d6s to pull out whenever you need for that. You could have different color-coded bundles for different spells that you cast, or all sorts of different things you can do. And this makes it a lot easier to store and transport your die by, making it so you can fit half a chest in a single slot. After you have finalized your die, you can do a couple other little crafting things with them. So you can take a nether star and craft that with your die, and that will give you a enchantment glint effect on the die. So we do that, and now we have a die that is glowing. This does not change anything about the item, it just is a bit of a flex to show that you're willing to spend an entire nether star on a cosmetic effect. And then after you have done everything you want to finalize your die, you can craft it with a glass block, and that will add this little finalized note to the bottom. And once it's finalized, you can no longer clear the color by throwing it in water, and you can no longer change the color by adding dye or use it to add a different trim to. So this die is locked in with this design. And with that, that is all the features of this data pack. I hope you enjoy it. There's a link to it in Modrinth down below in the description. And if you want a more technical explanation, make sure to request that in the comments below. I'm mostly trying to do shorter, easier to edit videos to showcase all of these data packs, but if there's particular interest in one data pack or another, I'd be more than glad to put together a technical explanation. But that is it for this video. As a sneak preview of the next episode I'll be doing, here is one of my Elytra enchantments I've put together. This is the Hover enchantment, and with it, it allows somebody in survival mode to have a sort of floaty, creative flight where they can move around instead of the normal gliding from the Elytra. If you'd be interested in seeing more of how that works and more of my Elytra enchantments, please consider subscribing so you can see the next episode when that comes out. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you all in the future.